Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stelliferous, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. I hope you enjoyed this riveting tale I'm about to tell. The scorching winds of the Inado Desert howled across the sands, surrounding the underground sanctuary house. Above us, Nibiru's twin suns burned brightly, while the three eternal moons shimmered faintly in the daylight sky. The dunes stretched endless in every direction, broken only by jagged cliffs and ancient crystal formations jutting out from the sand. I tightened my scarf around my face as I studied the deep claw marks carved into the ground outside the sanctuary entrance. That thing was huge, Astra said quietly. Beside her stood Sharlamur, the massive shark lemur, Glyph growling low in its throat as its glowing fins twitched nervously. Luna crouched beside the tracks, while Myrno peeked from behind her legs. These are fresh. Zena folded her arms. So let me get this straight. We're hunting a giant armored nightmare that shoots spikes. Pretty much, I answered. Orabeak ruffled his feathers uneasily on my shoulder. The Pangolark had been spotted circling the sanctuary for days now. Normally they stayed buried beneath the sand deep in the Inado Desert, tunneling through the underground cave system, far away from people. But this one had come dangerously close to home. A low vibration suddenly shook the ground beneath our feet. Astra immediately stepped back. That can't be good. The sand erupted. A gigantic armored creature burst from beneath the desert floor. In a storm of sand and shattered rock, its massive curved claws slammed into the earth, while layered scales clattered together across its back like overlapping shields. Its long aardvark-like snout hissed loudly, and its rabbit-like ears twitched sharply. Glowing yellow markings pulsed across its body. The Pangolark, "Whoa!" Zena yelled. The creature curled slightly, and suddenly several scales lifted from its back. "Get down!" I shouted. "Whip, whip, whip!" The detached spikes launched through the air like spinning throwing stars. One sliced clean through a nearby crystal pillar. Another narrowly missed Astra. "Okay, nope," Astra yelled as she ducked behind Sharlamur. Sharlamur snarled fiercely and charged forward across the sand. The Pangolark roared back before diving underground again and with a shocking speed. The desert became silent. Then the ground beneath Astra started moving. "Astra, move!" Luna screamed. The Pangolark exploded upward beneath her. Sharlamur reacted instantly, grabbing Astra with one finned arm and leaping sideways just as the giant claws burst from the sand. "That was too close," Astra shouted. Sharlamur slammed into the Pangolark with incredible force, skidding the massive creature backwards across the dunes. Sand sprayed everywhere as the two monsters clashed, but the Pangolark's arms barely cracked. It screeched angrily and launched another barrage of spikes. Orabeak soared into the sky while Myrno hid behind Luna again. One spike clipped my arm, tearing my sleeve. I gritted my teeth. This thing's tougher than a stone crawler. The Pangolark suddenly stopped attacking. Instead, it positioned itself between us and a rocky cliffside, near the sanctuary walls. Its ears twitched nervously. Astra blinked. "Wait!" Small squeaking noises echoed from the rocks. 3 tiny Pangolark babies slowly peeked out from beneath the stones. Their tiny scales rattled as they hid behind each other. Luna's expression instantly softened. "Babies." The adult Pangolark growled protectively. "It thinks we're after them," I realized, just like many of the other glyphs that we tried to catch. Sharlamur slowly backed away beside Astra, lowering its aggression stance. "We're not going to hurt your babies," Astra said softly. The creature still didn't trust us. Another row of scales slowly lifted from its back. I carefully reached into my satchel and pulled out a pouch of crystal worms. Zena looked disgusted. "Why do you even carry those around?" "Because everything in the Inado Desert eats bugs." I tossed the crystal worms gently onto the sand. The babies immediately perked up. The adult Pangolark hesitated. Slowly, cautiously, it lowered its spikes. The tiny babies waddled over and began happily eating the worms while making soft chirping noises. Astra smiled warmly. "Okay, that's actually adorable." Even Sharlamur relaxed, sitting down heavily in the sand. Orabeak fluttered beside me as I slowly stepped forward with my glyph catcher in hand. meaning my Glyphid. The glowing pyramid pulsed softly. You were only protecting your family, I whispered. The Pangolark stared at me silently for several long seconds, then finally it lowered its head willingly. Golden light spiraled around its massive armored body as it transformed into a glowing energy and flowed into the Glyph. Click. The device chimed brightly. Pangolark captured. Successful. Yes, Zena shouted. Luna picked up one of the baby Pangolarks carefully, with Myrno sniffing at it curiously. Astra laughed. Well, guess we're running a nursery again. Don't remind me, I groaned. Sharlamur nudged one of the babies gently, while the little creature squeaked happily. Above us, the twin suns shined over the endless dunes, while the 3 moons glimmered silently in the sky. But deep beneath the sands, below the sanctuary, something enormous shifted in the darkness, and somewhere far underground, a pair of glowing eyes opened. The celebration didn't last long. The moment the glowing eyes opened beneath the sands, every glyph around us froze. Orbeak's feathers puffed up instantly. Sharlamur let out a deep growl. Even the baby Pangolarks stopped chirping and pressed close together nervously. The ground trembled again, the time stronger. The sand slid down the nearby cliffs as deep rumbling echoed beneath the underground sanctuary house. Zena slowly turned toward me. Please tell me this is normal. In Inado, Astra asked nervously. Nothing is normal. The glyph catcher, Glyphid, on my belt suddenly began flashing red. Warning, subterranean movement detected. My detector gun warned. Oh, that's comforting, Luna muttered. The newly captured Pangolark's Glyphid rattled violently in my hand as if the creature inside was panicking. It's scared, I whispered. Astra's eyes widened. If a Pangolark is scared, then what's underground is worse, Zena finished. Crack! A massive fissure split through the desert. Directly beside the sanctuary entrance, we all stumbled backwards as ancient stones shattered apart. Sand poured into the opening like water, while a blasting of freezing air erupted from below. Freezing? In the middle of the burning desert? What is that? Luna whispered. Far beyond us, faint blue light pulsed from deep underground, and then came the sound. A long metallic shriek echoed from the darkness beneath Nibru's sand. Sharlamur immediately stepped protectively in front of Astra. Myrno hid inside Luna's cloak. Orbeak took to the sky. I swallowed hard. That did not sound friendly. Suddenly, one of the baby Pangolarks squeaked loudly. Before anyone could react, the smallest baby slipped on the loose sand and tumbled directly into the crack. No! Luna screamed. Without thinking, Astra dove forward. Astra! I shouted. She barely caught the tiny Pangolark before it disappeared into the darkness, but the unstable edge gave way beneath her. The sand collapsed instantly. Astra and the baby Pangolark vanished into the fissure. Sharlamur, Zena yelled. The massive shark lemur launched itself forward without hesitation and dove into the darkness after her. For one horrifying second there was only silence, then Astra's voice echoed upward. We're okay! I dropped to the edge of the fissure and looked down. Far below was an enormous underground cavern, glowing with strange blue crystals. Ancient ruins stretched through the darkness beneath the desert, like a lost city buried beneath Nibru itself. Astra stood on a stone platform, clutching the baby Pangolark, while Sharlamur growled at the shadows around them. Then something huge moved behind the ruins. Only part of it stepped into the blue crystal light. A giant claw, black armor plating, glowing cayenne eyes, and hundreds of massive detachable spikes lined its back. My heart nearly stopped. Oh no. Luna stared downward in horror. That's not a Pangolark. The creature slowly emerged from the darkness beneath the ruins. It was colossal. It was at least 5 times larger than the Pangolark we had just captured. Its scales looked ancient and cracked like fossilized stone, while glowing blue energy pulsed between the gaps of its armor. The giant beast opened its mouth and released a deafening screech that shook the entire cavern. The baby Pangolark cried out in fear. Astra slowly backed away. Stelliferous! I gripped my Glyph tightly. That, I said nervously, is probably the Alpha. The Alpha Pangolark slammed its claws into the cavern floor, and then every tunnel beneath the sanctuary began to rumble all at once. The entire cavern shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling while ancient stone pillars cracked apart around us. The glowing blue crystals embedded in the walls flickered wildly as the Alpha Pangolark roared again. Its deafening cry echoed through every underground tunnel beneath the sanctuary. Astra clutched the baby Pangolark tightly against her chest. "Stelliferous," she shouted from below. "A little help would be great right now." "You think?" Zena yelled back. The Alpha Pangolark lowered its massive head and scraped its claws across the stone floor. Sparks exploded from the ancient rock, while rows upon rows of enormous detachable spikes slowly lifted from its back. Or a big screech from above. "It's charging up, Luna cried. I didn't hesitate. "Everyone move!" The giant creature launched its spikes. Hundreds of glowing blades tore through the cavern like a storm of spinning knives. Sharlamur reacted instantly, grabbing Astra and leaping sideways across the ruins as spikes exploded through the stone platform behind them. Massive chunks of ancient rock collapsed into the darkness below. Me and the others slid down the sandy slope into the cavern, just as another barrage shredded the area above us. One spike narrowly missed my face and embedded itself into a crystal pillar beside me. The pillar instantly froze solid. My eyes widened. Ice energy? That's new, Zena muttered nervously. The Alpha Pangolark let out another monstrous shriek before charging directly towards Astra and the baby. "Why does every giant monster want me?" Astra screamed while running. Sharlamur roared furiously and slammed into the Alpha with incredible force. The impact shook the cavern floor, but the gigantic beast barely moved. Instead, the Alpha swung its armored tail. Wham! The Sharlamur crashed through a stone wall and disappeared beneath falling rubble. "Sharlamur!" Astra shouted. The Alpha Pangolark turned toward her again. Its glowing cyan eyes narrowed. Then suddenly the small baby Pangolark in Astra's arms chirped loudly. The giant Alpha froze. Everyone stopped moving. The baby squirmed free from Astra's grip, waddled forward across the cracked stone floor, and squeaked up at the enormous creature. The Alpha lowered its giant head slowly. Luna blinked in confusion. "Wait!" The baby rubbed its head against the Alpha's massive claw. It's parent," Zena whispered. The giant creature let out a deep rumbling sound, not angry this time, sad. My heart sank. "The adult Pangolark we caught," I whispered. "That wasn't the Alpha's mate protecting territory. Or that was the Alpha's mate. Or wasn't the Alpha's mate, protecting territory." Astra slowly realized it too. It was protecting their babies while the Alpha guarded this place underground. The giant creature looked toward us again. Not with rage anymore, with warning. The cavern trembled violently once more. Then something far deeper beneath the ruins answered the Alpha's cry. A horrifying roar echoed upward from the darkness below the city. The sound didn't belong to Pangolark. Every Glyph immediately panicked. Beaks dropped from the air onto my shoulder, trembling. Marino buried itself behind Luna. Even the Alpha Pangolark backed away from the darkness. Then the ground split open beneath the ancient ruins. An enormous glowing eye opened far below the cavern floor. Not an eye, a machine. Blue energy pulsed through the massive metallic structures buried beneath the city. Ancient gears groaned awake while glowing symbols lit across the walls. Astra stared in horror. "That's not natural." Suddenly a distorted voice echoed through the ruins. "Sanctuary detected." Everyone froze. "Intruders detected." Massive mechanical claws began pulling themselves upward from the abyss below. "Awakening Nibiran defense unit." Zena slowly looked at me. "Please tell me your ancestors didn't build giant underground murder robots." "I'm starting to think they absolutely did," I said, in reply. The cavern lights flared brighter. Ancient blue symbols raced across the walls like rivers of glowing fire while the buried machine continued dragging itself upward from the abyss beneath the ruins. Stone exploded outward. A giant metallic arm slammed onto the cavern floor. The claws alone were larger than Sharlamur. "Run!" I shouted. Everyone scattered as the ancient machine hauled more of its body from the darkness below. Rusted black armor covered its massive frame, while Glowing cyan energy pulsed through cracks in the metal like veins and lightning. Its head resembled some twisted fusion of beetle and serpent, and mounted along its back were rotating crystal cannons. The alpha Pangolark roared furiously and stepped in front of the babies protectively. The machine's glowing eyes locked onto it immediately. Threat detected. A crystal cannon charged with blinding blue light. "Oh no," Astra whispered. "Boom!" The blast erupted across the cavern. The alpha Pangolark barely managed to curl its armored body around the babies before the beam slammed into it. The explosion shattered crystal pillars and sent shockwaves through the ruins. The giant creatures screeched in pain. "Hey," Astra yelled angrily, "leave them alone!" Sharlamur burst from the rubble behind the machine with a furious roar and slammed into its side. Metal screeched as the shark lemur clawed at the armor plating. The machine retaliated instantly. Its tail whipped around and smashed Sharlamur through an ancient stone archway. "Sharlamur," Astra cried. Luna summoned Mirno forward. "Mirno, crystal burst!" The little Glyph unleashed a spray of golden crystal shards toward the machine's eyes. Sparks exploded across its face plate, causing the giant construct to stagger backwards slightly. "Damage detected," the machine droned. Zena blinked. "Okay, good news. We can hurt it." "Bad news," I said, while staring upward. The ceiling was collapsing. Massive cracks spread through the cavern overhead, while sand poured down from above. The entire underground city was becoming unstable. The alpha Pangolark slowly rose back to its feet, growling deeply despite the scorch marks across its armor. Then something incredible happened. The glowing cyan energy inside the ruins began flowing toward the alpha itself, and its ancient scales lit up one by one. The spikes along its back expanded outward into massive glowing blades. Luna gasped. "It's absorbing the city's energy." The alpha Pangolark slammed its claws into the ground. Every crystal in the cavern erupted with light. Then thousands of detached spikes launched from its back at once. The glowing projectiles swarmed through the air like a storm of spinning stars and smashed into the defense unit from every direction. Crash! The machine staggered backwards as explosions rippled across its armor plating. One cannon shattered completely. Astra grinned wildly. "That's what I'm talking about." The machine screeched mechanically before targeting the alpha again. "Core Guardian identified." "Core Guardian?" I froze. "The city," I whispered. "The alpha Pangolark, it wasn't hiding down here." I looked around at the ancient ruins, the glowing symbols, and the massive underground structures buried beneath the sand. It was guarding this place. The machine's eyes suddenly shifted toward me. "Unauthorized descendant detected." My stomach dropped. "What?" The entire cavern went silent. Then the machine spoke again. "Welcome back, Stelliferous." The cavern had become deathly silent. Even the machine stopped moving. Blue light pulsed through the ancient ruins while dust drifted slowly through the freezing underground air. Everyone stared at me, including the alpha Pangolark. Astra blinked first. "Okay, hold on." She pointed directly at the giant robot. "How does creepy metal Bugzilla know your name?" I don't know," I shouted. The machine's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. "Voice match confirmed. Genetic signature verified." My blood ran cold. Luna slowly stepped closer to me. "Genetic signature?" Zena looked just as unnerved. "That means it recognizes your family line." "That's impossible," I whispered. I had never seen this place before in my life. Never even heard of it. Yet the deeper I looked around the underground city, the more wrong everything felt. Not familiar. Forgotten. The glowing symbols carved into the walls seemed strangely readable somehow. The shapes felt buried somewhere deep in my memory like half-remembered dreams. Suddenly my head throbbed painfully. I grabbed the side of my face. "Stelliferous," Luna asked nervously. Images flashed through my mind. A towering underground city glowing beneath the sands. People wearing crystal armor. Massive Pangolarks crawling through tunnels beside them peacefully. And a voice, "Protect the core at all cost." I staggered backwards. Astra caught me before I fell. Hey, take it easy." The machine lowered itself slightly. Response detected. My breath quickened. No! More flashes slammed into my head, a little girl running through these exact runes, tiny hands touching glowing symbols on the walls, a massive alpha Pangolark lowering its head beside her gently, then alarms screaming, the city collapsing, darkness swallowing everything. I gasped loudly, and the vision vanished instantly. What did you see? Luna asked. I swallowed hard. I think. Before I could finish, the alpha Pangolark suddenly stepped closer to me. The gigantic creature lowered its massive head until its glowing cayenne eyes met mine. Then gently it nudged my shoulder like it recognized me too. Astra's jaw dropped. Okay, that thing definitely knows you. The baby Pangolarks chirped excitedly around my feet while the giant alpha let out a low rumble sound. Not hostile, protective. The machine suddenly interrupted again. Sanctuary hair identified. Core access available. Glowing doors slowly opened behind the robot. Deep within the ruins, blue light poured from the chamber beyond, while ancient mechanisms groaned awake for the first time in centuries. Zena stared at the opening. Sanctuary hair. Luna looked at me carefully. Stelliferous, what if your family didn't just build the sanctuary house? She glanced around at the underground city. What if they built all of this? The thought made my stomach twist. The underground sanctuary house suddenly made much more sense. Why it was hidden. Why strange things always happened around it. Why Professor Orion had always been obsessed with the time jags beneath the desert. My eyes slowly widened. The sanctuary, I whispered. It wasn't built to keep things out. The machine's eyes glowed brighter. Correct. A heavy metallic rumble echoed through the cavern. Then far below the city, something enormous moved in the darkness again. This time even the robot turned towards the abyss uneasy. Warning, it announced. The veil below is weakening. We hurried into one of the ancient safe rooms hidden beneath the ruins while the caverns continued shaking around us. The heavy metal door sealed shut behind us with a loud hiss. Blue emergency lights flickered across the walls. Astra sat beside Sharlamur, trying to catch her breath, while Luna held the baby Pangolark close. The alpha Pangolark waited silently outside the chamber entrance like a living guard dog. I immediately pulled out my communicator and called my parents. The screen flickered before my mom appeared. Stelliferous, are you alright? She asked nervously. Mom? Dad? Is there something you need to tell me? I asked sharply. Other than the fact that my sister got turned into a glyph. My mother glanced off screen uneasily. Like what? She asked carefully. Like the fact I just found an enormous sanctuary city underneath our underground sanctuary house, and some giant robot knows my name. Silence. Then my dad slowly leaned into the frame. Oh, that. I stared blankly. That? Well, Dad said awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. We may have worked with Orion at one point. The entire room exploded. You what? I shouted. Astra nearly choked. Luna's eyes widened in horror. Daddy's evil! We know that now, my mother said quickly. Now, I yelled. My dad sighed heavily. Stelliferous, Orion wasn't always like this. Before the time jags corrupted him, he was trying to protect the sanctuary core. I froze outside the safe room. A deep, monstrous roar echoed through the underground city. Then the robot's voice cracked over the ancient speaker. Warning, the seal below is failing. I stared at the communicator in disbelief. He was always bad, though, I snapped. Mom, Dad, he experimented on glyphs. He hurt people. My mother looked away, guilty, while my dad sighed heavily. It was for the greater good, he said quietly. The room went dead silent. Astra stood up immediately. Excuse me? Luna tightened her grip on Myrno. How could you even say that? My chest tightened with anger. You knew, I whispered. My parents didn't answer right away. Finally, my mother spoke softly. Stelliferous, back then the veil below the sanctuary was weakening. Creatures were getting through. Entire cities vanished beneath the sands. Her voice trembled. Orion believed glyph fusion experiments could create protectors strong enough to stop it. And you helped him, I asked. We thought we were saving Nibiru, my dad admitted. A loud metallic boom shook the safe room walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. The robot's distorted voice echoed again through the chamber's speakers. Warning! Entity below approaching core chamber. Sharlamur growled deeply. The alpha Pangolark outside the room roared in response. I slowly looked back at the communicator. hurt burning in my chest. You let him turn my sister into a glyph. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We never thought he'd go that far. We never thought he would hurt us that bad. But he did, Mom. He did. And you guys let it happen. I gotta go. I got to save my friends from a horrible thing. I will talk to you later. Bye. Another violent tremor shook the safe room. The lights flickered red. Outside, the Alpha Pangolark roared, while distant metallic screams echoed through the collapsing underground city. I looked at my parents on the communicator one last time. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then my dad lowered his head. Stelliferous, whatever Orion is trying to awaken down there, don't let him reach the core. The transmitter cracked violently. My mother wiped her eyes. We're sorry. The screen went black. Silence filled the room. Astra slowly stepped beside me, while Sharlamur stood protectively at her back. Luna held Myrno close, while Zena nervously glanced towards the sealed door. I stared at the dark communicator in my hand. Everything I thought I knew about my family, the sanctuary, even Orion, had changed in a single night. Then the robot's voice echoed once more through the ancient hall. Sanctuary air. The core awaits. The massive safe room doors slowly creaked open. Beyond them stretched the glowing ruins of the ancient city. The Alpha Pangolark stood waiting beside the entrance, its cayenne eyes shining in the darkness. Around its feet the baby Pangolark chirped softly, while the distant roar of the creature beneath the city shook the ground again. I took a slow breath and clipped the glyphid to my belt. Well, Astra said nervously, guess we're saving the world now. A small smile crossed my face despite everything. Again. Orabeak spread his glowing wings. Sharlamur growled eagerly, and together, beneath the eternal twin suns and 3 moons of Nibiru, we stepped deeper into the lost sanctuary city toward whatever waited below the veil. And we took down Orion and saved the entire planet.